What's going on, man? How you doing?
So good. Thanks for having me on this morning, guys.
Would you mind just kind of giving a little bit of a background about how you got to where you are today and just telling your story?
Sure. So my name is Matt Cardis. I'm the founder of Golf in Your State, a photographer. I got my hands on a lot of things. It's really hard to label what I do. In the end, it all comes back to photography. Full-time traveler. I live out of a Mercedes Sprinter van. I travel the country 365 days a year. My whole lifestyle comes from my love of the snow culture. My home base is in Jackson Hole in Wyoming. Out of college, I decided I wanted to do things I love to do every day. So I moved to the mountains, informally became a ski bum, worked seasonal jobs so that I could snowboard 100 days a year. As I progressed in my professional career, I was working in a cubicle, kind of found myself, doing everything that I said I wasn't going to do, right? I decided to kind of take my lifestyle to golf and quit my job, packed my stuff up in a Subaru Outback where I traveled for 2 years. I'm living out of a rooftop tent on top of my car. Here I am a little over 4 years later with Golf in Your State still, just doing my thing.
The van just looks so cool, and especially seeing more with the YouTube videos that you've been posting, seeing the inside of the van, and sometimes I'll pause the video and be like, oh, look at that, like look at all the pieces that are up there from all these different golf courses and whatnot. I did have a question just in regards to traveling and living out of a van. So I come from a musical background. I used to tour. And that was, 4 or 5 dudes in a van traveling around the country. Not fun. But I guess I want to hear from you. What do you feel like are the struggles that you kind of face, living out of the van and whatnot on a day-to-day basis?
You still have to think about everything in your life, right? I'm a big dude in a small space with a lot of gear. Space is probably the number one. Basic necessities though, water, electricity, making sure the fridge is running. There's so much that goes into it. Every day I have, a checklist of things that I'm going through just to making sure that, I'm ready to go. This is a great example. I'm here at my friend's house in LA. I just went to Orlando for the weekend and he saw me pulling everything out of the van to pack up for a weekend trip. And he's like, man, you do this every time. And I'm like, yeah, well, I kind of have to, right? And now that I'm back, I got to redo it again just to get back on the road again. And I think a lot of people don't really see that, right? I think van life, at least online, is portrayed so...
very glamorously.
It's so nice and so glamorous. And they see these models laying on this perfectly made bed and... I don't know if those people are, don't travel with anything, because I've never had it like that. It's always packed to the gills. I'm trying to find another inch to put this. Every time someone hands me something, I'm like, it's great, but where am I going to put it? But you just think about basic things like safety and, it's just everything. Internet, Wi-Fi. Dude, there's so much that goes into it.
I kind of want to talk a little bit about some like environmental stuff. So obviously it seems like that is a big part of, your brand and stuff like that. You live out of van, so your eco footprint is significantly smaller than a lot of people. I've been wondering personally, have you, just traveling around the country, have you seen any golf courses that are trying to go a more sustainable route as far as water and just trying to have a more eco-friendly way of how they kind of have course maintenance? Have you ever kind of looked into that? Or
it's a great question. Back when I was about to relaunch for 2020 the Golf Wall project, one of the initiatives I was actually creating was a water system for golf courses, trying to get people away from using single-use plastic and styrofoam cups on golf courses, and installing water stations and convincing them to sell water bottles versus actually giving away plastic and styrofoam cups. I keep a very open eye towards, environmental initiatives of golf courses. You're seeing a big push towards solar. Big shout out to Rams Hill. Rams Hill is in the middle of the desert where water use is a very important topic of conversation, right? But one way they can offset their water usage is by using solar power. So they have a huge solar field that runs all of their operations, all of their pumps for maintenance, plus the clubhouse. So, it's one way that a golf course can actually, offset some of their environmental impact by looking at something else, right? Ultimately it comes down to cost, right? Like, people use styrofoam because it's crazy cheap. I think a lot of them aren't looking at the long-term impact and, even the way people view it. The pandemic has been a super challenging one for me because, living out of a van, prior to the pandemic, I was very aware of everything that I was using, right? But with the pandemic and it kind of moving to this to-go format of everything, all of a sudden I'm seeing like this huge spike in single-use plastic and things along those lines that is almost unavoidable at this point. You can take me living on the road and water, for example. What I used to do was take my Nalgene or my Hydro Flask into the gas station, fill it up with ice, fill it up with water. Now that isn't an option. Like, if you want to get a cup of ice from a gas station, you have to use one of their cups. It's just made me kind of, again, prioritize what's important. Is that ice really that important that I want to take that plastic cup and, have it in the van for however X long? Or do I just bypass the ice and, fill it out of a water bottle? It's impossible to completely eliminate your footprint, but I feel like there are ways that you can reduce your footprint. So I try and really stay focused on that and how I can minimize my impact.